Hello, beautiful people. So it is an absolutely gorgeous day outside, and I decided to come outside and get some work done. And I wanted to try something different because every single day, I don't know about you, but I pour into myself. I like to learn, right? And one of the things we do with Digital Trailblazers, every single morning we have a meeting and we say, what did you learn yesterday? What training tip or takeaway do you have from yesterday? Personal development or increasing your skill set and lesson. So I love the value that we get from doing the Digital Trailblazer podcast. And we do have a family of them. So personal we have our personal development trailblazers podcast, our health and wellness trailblazers podcast, our financial freedom and wealth podcast, our I don't know if I said health and wellness already, our business growth trailblazers podcast, and then our main podcast, which is Digital Trailblazer. So I love to go and listen to those podcasts because it really pours into me. The ones that I don't host myself, I love the value that I get from Alicia's guest and Leah and Todd's guest. So I want to try something different and go ahead and react to some of the episodes that I have not gotten a chance to look at. And then so you guys can look at it with me and then just absorb the value, okay? And know that you are not alone. And guys, if you are a coach, consultant, or course creator, and you want to share your value with the world, with our audience of over 200K, all of our podcasts are top performing globally. We are in the top 3, 5, and 10% globally. Then definitely make sure to apply to the podcast. I'll have the podcast application in the description or in the comments, wherever you're watching this. So let's get into it. So I'm going to go small and let's watch this. This is Own Your Journey, The End of Doubt in Comparison with Jay Lumen. So let's check it out.
Welcome back, Trailblazers. If you're new here, I'm Alicia. Today I'm hanging out with Jay Lumen, and we are talking all about going from point A to point B without the doubt, imposter syndrome, or the comparison to others. Jay, it's great to have you on the podcast.
Hi, Alicia. Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. I'm so honored to have you here. I would love for you to kick us off. Tell us a little more about what that means, who you are, who you helping.
So, as you said, I'm Jay Lumen, and what I like to do is flip people's switches. So basically help them see their life in a new light, because a lot of times we get stuck in our life and we're not really sure where to begin, or maybe we want something, the going from point A to point B, we have a goal in mind, but we have fears or doubts that we don't think we can accomplish that.
And real quick, you guys, I'm going to double time the speed, okay? Because usually when I do this, I double time the speed so that I can get through it quicker, because I do have calls and stuff coming up. But if you want to watch the original slowed down version, regular version, then I will leave the link down to the original video in the description as well to check that out. So get ready for the double speed. Let's get it. All right, here we go. Let's go 1.75 and see what that does.
And so I show people how to look at their life in a different light and use that to leverage confidence and build resilience so that they can find a way to get unstuck and start achieving a life that is authentic to them. And then also to overcome imposter syndrome. It's kind of like their own little personal defense against it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell me what led you to this. What made you want to get started helping people with this?
The reason I'm so passionate about it is because at one point I was stuck in my life. I felt like I was trapped in a relationship that had run its course. And because I was the only one financially responsible in the relationship, I felt like I was tethered to this job it was a toxic work environment, and I hated it. So I just felt like I was stuck in, I was between a rock and a hard place. And I felt like I was on a sinking ship, and if I didn't jump off of it, I was going to go down with it. And I really didn't want to live my life like that. But I had no idea where to begin. I felt so much internal pressure to have everything perfectly sorted so I didn't disappoint anybody, or anybody didn't think I was not being a responsible adult, or, there's all these pressures that we put on ourselves. And so for a while, I just kind of sat there and thought on it. And eventually, I was able to move him away to live with his family, which alleviated any guilt I might have had for kicking him out on the street. But then I convinced myself that I still had to stay at the job that I hated because I had a lease to pay and, other bills and stuff like that. Unfortunately, 2 months later, out of the blue, there was a knock on the door about 6 o'clock on a Saturday night. And my ex had driven over 1,000 miles. No surprise. And the night ended with his arrest for attempted murder. of me. So everything that I was trying to avoid by staying exactly where I was, I had to deal with anyway. So there's only a certain amount of control that you can have in your life. But at the same time, had my life actually ended that night, I wasn't happy. I'd only solved half the problem that I'd already been saying. I was miserable in both aspects of my life, but I'd only solved half the problem and then convinced myself to stay where I was because I didn't know how to get unstuck and how to keep.
You guys, I have to mention this. This story, Jay Lumen, it's amazing to me how many people have gone through trauma or things in their lives and they have turned around and created something to help other people. You're probably going to hear me say that time and time and time again, but when you can turn your pain into power, that is so powerful and transformative, not only for you, but for others in the world. That is a way to make the world a better place by overcoming, being an overcomer. That way you can help others to overcome because you can't teach what you haven't done. And I just want to real quick see what Miss Jay Lumen does. So let's see. Jay Lumen has dedicated the last decade to helping others break free from living silently in dissatisfaction through her speaking and coaching. Her unique journey, surviving an unexpected attempt on her life, fuels her passion to help audiences realize their overlooked power to redefine their life experience. She's inspired countless individuals to embrace their unknown bucket list, promoting an innovative approach to life's unpredictability and how to start living the life they want. Oh, I love it, love it, love it. And she does have a freebie here. So like I said, I will put the original video down in the description so you guys can check that out and then take advantage of the freebies. But let's go. I mean, this is, you're not alone if you're going through something. Just know that. And you can overcome and transform your life. So let's keep going.
Moving forward and how to deal with all the things that I saw were obstacles in my way. And in the end, once I had to overcome them, they weren't really obstacles at all.
Wow. Jay, when you're working with someone now, when someone comes into your world, where do you start with them? Because this getting unstuck idea, right? We keep ourselves in a place. Sometimes it does lead to the thing that we were trying to avoid all along. How are you helping them to identify where they're stuck and then helping them to get out of that?
It's interesting because I didn't know it at the time. I was just putting one foot in front of the other. But as I reflected back on my own journey, what I really did is I went back and found my core values, because your core values are what are authentic to you and will bring you joy, and they guide your thoughts and your beliefs. And when you don't know where to begin, a lot of times it's just breaking it down and going back to that basic, or remembering what used to bring you joy when you were a child, or remember your childhood dreams. Because I like to say that if you don't move, life will move you. And a lot of times we do get swept up in that current of life and we kind of forget ourselves, or we lose a piece of ourselves. And to be reminded of that can really help us figure out where to take that next step, or at least point our direction in which we want to go.
Yeah. What are the big points of resistance or the big challenges that you find clients having when you're working with them?
It's really hard to be resilient and have self-confidence when you're not used to kind of gravitating towards those things. Because we get, especially women, we can give to everybody else. And then if we think that we should be self-confident or resilient or set boundaries or anything like that, or if we want something for ourselves, it's almost like we're being selfish. But at the end of the day, you only have one life to live. So practicing standing up for yourself, practicing saying, no, I can do this. I've got this. And I can do this because I've proven it to myself with all these past experiences. It's the practice and repetition that really is hard, because especially even for me in the beginning, I'd be like, oh, I can't do this. And then I have to remember, oh, well, I've already done this and that. So yes, I can do this. And I am worthy of the effort, and I deserve to live the best life I can, not defined by my means or my circumstances. So let's just do it.
Yes, you guys, and I'm going to interject throughout this because I want to make sure that I don't get any copyright and all of that stuff. But then there's also jewels that she's dropping. Believe it or not, you have overcome 100% of every obstacle in your life thus far. That's why you're here today. Think about all those things that you have overcome in the past, and guess what? You've overcame them. That's why you're here today. So all the things you thought you couldn't do, all those scared moments of anxiety and when you thought things wouldn't work out and they did, just know that that's how life is, right? And you can overcome and get past anything. Okay, so I love that. So this is such a jewel.
Yeah. What are some of the strategies that you find work really well to get them out of that place of stuckness?
Again, the practice and the repetition. So it's once you see how to look at your past, and because life happens in unexpected, unplanned, and random events. And a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough credit for things that we do. And by shifting your perspective, I call it flipping your switch. But once your switch has been flipped and now you can start to see things differently, you don't dismiss experiences that you've had or that you've overcome, you don't dismiss them as insignificant, because it doesn't matter how small something is or how big something is. And so it goes back to practice and repetition. And eventually, with enough practice and repetition of collecting all these little mini moments and then leveraging them for self-confidence and resilience when doubts come up, or when you want to compare yourself to others, or when you feel like you're faking it until you make it, just practice and repetition. Eventually, it does become second nature. And you just have self-confidence and resilience and freedom of choice without thinking about it.
How long does it typically take for you to work with a client to get them to the point where they're repeating the process long enough that it's clicking and they're flipping that switch?
Every person is different. So some people, it clicks right away. Some people want to just kind of like zoom right through, and they can accomplish change in they can start to see change within just a few weeks. But usually just part of the repetition, it usually goes on for 8 to 12 weeks. Other people might need a little extra time. And so then I work with them a little bit longer. And because everybody's circumstances are different. And so their unique challenges might require a little more digging or a little more practice of trying to overcome it and find self-confidence. And it's so easy for life to knock you down. And a lot of times we let it. Mm-hmm. So that's where the practice and repetition really just kind of comes in. And when people feel like they can do it themselves, then they might say, okay, I got it from here. Or they might say, can we keep working together?
So what has been a really proud moment for you then with doing this work with your clients? Is there a story that you can share?
It's not so much one story. It's so exciting to me when someone actually gets it. And it's like they have that little light bulb moment, and they can see how their own life, how they can really pull, and how they can make change, and how they can get to living the life that they really want. Not everybody needs an entire overhaul of their life. Sometimes we just need a little enhancement, a little tweak here and there. And then it becomes the life that is authentic to us and that brings us joy. And life is good and bad. So I'm not sitting here saying you're going to be happy forever, because life just doesn't happen that way. But when you see the light bulb go on and they're like, so what you're saying is I can do this. And I'm like, yeah. And then their brain, you can just see the wheels start to turn. And I get so excited for that person, because now their brain has been flipped. And it really can, they're not, with practice and repetition, they're not going to get stuck again. They're not going to have doubts that they can accomplish whatever they want. And for me, it's a way that somebody can supersize their life, because now you're collecting all these little mini moments that happen randomly throughout the day, but you're leveraging it to dream bigger and make bigger goals. And when you see you can do that, then you can go bigger than that. And eventually you have this life that you never imagined was possible. And I say that because that's my experience. And so to be able to teach that and show that to other people, it gives me goosebumps.
Yeah. Yeah. The concept of the unknown bucket list, that for people who are watching, I know it's a little cut off on the screen, the way that we have the screen cropped, but I'd love for you to talk about that concept and how you practice that with clients.
So the unknown bucket list, most people know what a bucket list is, and it's full of hopes and dreams that will likely never come to fruition because we either don't have enough time or money or both or whatever the case may be. It's also largely based on what other people think needs to be on our bucket list, or what other people think that we need to experience before our time is up. And not to say that they're wrong. Everybody has a bucket list, and that's great. I even have a bucket list. It's fine. But life happens, as I said, in unplanned, unexpected, and random events. So it's in those little mini moments that you're actually living your bucket list as life is happening. And all of these experiences, you may not, the bad stuff, you would never want to happen. The good stuff, maybe you would never even dream of happening, but it happens in your life. And so you have this unique story of all the bucket list items that you've already been living and all the experiences that you've had. And it's a unique approach to then collect those mini moments. And it goes back to what I was just saying earlier about supersizing your life and dreaming bigger and leveraging confidence and resilience and having this life that you never imagined possible that's authentic to who you are. And even when something bad happens, you can pull it out and you can be like, okay, so something bad is happening, it's tragic, but you can prove to yourself that you're capable of hard things because you've done them in the past. Mm-hmm. And there was something I was just going to say, and I completely lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
I love that. And I love how she said, you can do hard things. That has been one of my mantras or affirmations or declarations for a while, is, I can do hard things. Yes. Are things hard in life? Yes. Will you have hard moments? Yes. Will you have things happen that you don't want to happen? Yes. But guess what? I can do hard things. I encourage you to start saying that now, because everything's not easy. And honestly, when you have that resistance, it could be because it's a learning moment, right? It's a learning curve. It's a time where you need to learn something, a new skill, a new mindset, something to get over that. And now you've graduated on to the next part. So I love that she said that I can do hard things.
I'm familiar with that. So glad if it comes back by. So while we're waiting for that thought to come back, tell me what you're doing to find people to work with on this. How are you reaching out and spreading your message to more people who you can help?
Because it's very personable and it's best when it's conversation. It's pretty much referrals and word of mouth, but also going on stages and speaking, going on podcasts and speaking. I do have social media, but it's really more referrals and word of mouth and just people finding me from hearing me talk about it, because it's kind of a hard concept to grasp. And if you see the unknown bucket list, most people will already formulate an opinion as to what that means or what that is. And it's not really that. And now I remember my thought now. Mm-hmm. Have you ever done anything in your life that completely changed your life? Like you fell in love with it. It might be a sport or a hobby or something like that. If you've ever done that, you wouldn't know to put it on your bucket list because you didn't know about it until you did it. That's another piece of the unknown bucket list.
Yeah. So reaching out, talking, having conversations like this with a lot of people. Jay, tell me where you want to grow all of this. What are you hoping to build it into?
Honestly, what I would love my eventual goal is I want to do retreats so that it's hands-on, because I really do enjoy the conversation with people. And so it gives that one-on-one, but then you can literally build out the foundation of somebody's unknown bucket list with them. And then you can show them how to leverage self-confidence. And it becomes this experience. And it could be a short weekend or maybe even a long, there'll be variations of them, but they can then they can put what they're learning into practice, and they can leverage the self-confidence to go up against something that, maybe they're a little doubtful that they can do. Maybe they are a little concerned about embracing the unknown. And I really just want to make it a hands-on approach so that people can not just learn it through writing and practicing, but also by doing, and then they can take that back and then they can continue growing it on their own. Yeah. I love the idea of a retreat. I think that just the concept of what we think of as a bucket list would be a really great thing to build a retreat around, and then educating them, like talking to them about the idea of the unknown bucket list. That's really awesome. I love what you're doing. I think this is fantastic. And I know people are going to be curious, so I'd love for you to tell them where they can go if they want to connect with you from here. So I have a free self-assessment. It's actually the first step of the unknown bucket list, and people can build the foundation of their unknown bucket list on .com. So resumeyourlife.com or resumeyourlife.com. And I like to say that you resume your life to resume the life you want. Love it. So I'll link everything in the show notes if you're listening.
I love this. This has been so good. And I want to just take it to my marketing brain a little bit. Here, where she said, Alicia asked her a very important question.
But they can then leverage, they can put what my eventual goal is. I want to do retreats. You have social media, but it's really bad happens. You can pull it out and you can be like, something I was just going to say, and I completely lost my train of thought.
That's okay. I'm familiar with that. So
grab it, comes back by. Question.
So while we're waiting for that thought to come back, tell
and
me
then
what
you're
answer. Doing to find people to work with on this. How are you reaching out and spreading your message to more people who you can help? Because it's very personal, and it's best when it's conversation. It's pretty much referrals and word of mouth, but also going on stages and speaking, going on podcasts and speaking. I do have social media, but it's really more referrals and word of mouth and just people finding me from hearing me talk about it, because it's kind of a hard concept to grasp. And if you see the unknown bucket list, most people will already formulate an opinion as to what that means or what that is. And it's
okay. Now that part right there, it's really hard to grasp and it's hard to understand, right? So she's mainly Jay is mainly getting her clients from networking and referrals, which are great, because that means you're doing something right when people are talking about you and they want to recommend you to other people, right? But that can only go so far, right? And this is my marketing stuff coming out, okay? She's on social media. She mentioned she's on social media, but I don't think it's working very well because, like she said, she's mainly doing referrals and networking. Now, the main issue that people have when they are not able to generate those leads and those sales to convert on social media is their messaging. If you paid attention to what Jay said, she said, it's really hard to understand what it is that I'm doing, right? So when you have your messaging right, and that's one of the most important things when it comes to digital marketing or marketing online, right? Or any kind of marketing, is you want your messaging to be on point. What does that mean? You want, if you're running a social ad on social media, if you're creating a post, whatever kind of content that you are putting out there, that is written content, video content, whatever kind of content that with a message that you are trying to deliver to an audience, you want it to be so fine-tuned that it is getting into the head of that person that you are trying to reach, which is your ideal client, right? You want it to be so on point to where they say, that is me that they're talking about. I need this. And that is one of the things that we help people to do at Digital Trailblazer. So that I just love that, how I was able to show that example there, and how she said, it's hard to understand, but when you work on the messaging and fine tune that, it will be very easy for someone to read your copy on social media or listen to your message on social media and say, hey, this is for me. I want to work with you. right? So if you are struggling with social media and you're not able to convert, and you feel like you need help with that messaging part to really, so that you can successfully convert ads. You can run ads and convert them. You can put up social media posts and have people raise their hand and say, hey, I want more information. You can deliver a video message or go live or whatever, and people say, hey, yes, me, please, I want that. Then I would encourage you to schedule a free business consultation with us. That way we can help you and see what resources we have available to you. So I'll put the link down in the description for that as well. If you are a coach, consultant, or course creator and you're not converting, that may be one of the biggest issues, and usually is one of the biggest issues, especially in this niche where it's personal development, mental health. It's really hard to deliver a message, right? To have that good fine-tuned messaging. So if you're interested in that and you need help with that, definitely, like I said, book a free consultation. I'll put that in the description so you can apply for that. And then also, I think that is all for now. If you guys want to check out this video, I'll have the without at regular speed and to all of the end of it. Then I'll put the link down in the description to watch that. Shout out to Alicia for another wonderful podcast episode. Shout out to Jay Lumen for delivering and sharing her message and going out and helping the world to overcome by her overcoming, right? And also, if you are a coach, consultant, or course creator and you'd like to be on the podcast to share your message, share your story, share your expertise, and ultimately get more visibility for your business, then make sure to apply to be on the podcast. I'll have the link down in the description for that as well. Until next time, everyone, be blessed.